Aegir, the wise sea giant, lived with his wife Ran, the sea goddess, and their 9 children, the sea wraiths, on the island of Hlisi. He was a friend of the Asgardians and wanted peace between the giants and the gods. Once, he traveled to Asgard to visit the Asgardians. They foresaw his arrival and prepared everything for him. When Aegir arrived in Asgard, his senses were dazzled, but he still felt welcome. Odin, the king of the Asgardians, had a special idea for the celebration. He had swords brought into the hall. They shone so brightly that they illuminated the entire room. It was so bright that no other lights were needed. The feast was unique and showcased the special relationship between Aegir and the Asgardians. At the feast, the Asgardians decided to share a tale with Aegir. Loki, Odin, and Hrungnir had once set out on a journey. After wandering for a long time and growing hungry, they came across an ox and decided to slaughter it for a meal. However, no matter how long they cooked the meat, it remained raw. Just then, a voice came from above. It was a giant eagle who admitted to being responsible for the raw meat. He proposed a deal, a piece of their food in exchange for his magic that would properly cook the meat. Hungry and frustrated, the Asgardians agreed, but the eagle grabbed the best parts of the meat and flew away. Loki, always the daredevil, was furious. He took a pole and threw it at the eagle, but the plan backfired. The pole stuck to the eagle, and Loki found himself in a perilous situation. The eagle flew close to the ground, dragging Loki over rocks and tree stumps. The eagle made Loki an offer. He would only release him if Loki promised to lure Idun and her life-extending apples out of Asgard. Loki didn't want to betray his friends, but the pain was unbearable. Eventually, he gave in, as the eagle dragged him across the ground so long that Loki feared for his life. After Loki swore to satisfy the eagle, he executed a trick to lure Idun out of Asgard. He told her about a forest full of precious apples and asked her to bring her own rejuvenating apples for comparison. As soon as Idun stood under the apple tree, the giant Tjadzi appeared in the form of an eagle, grabbed her, and flew with her and the apples to his estate, Thurmanheim, also known as Lermheim. Tjadzi was one of the most powerful giants, and his estate was full of treasures. When Idun and her rejuvenating apples disappeared, the Asgardians immediately felt the effects. They aged rapidly, their strength waned, and they could only throw their weapons half as far as before. The goddesses were particularly concerned and urged in the council to bring back Idun and her apples right away. The situation became critical. Without Idun and her apples, the Asgardians were vulnerable, and time was of the essence. They had to come up with a plan to retrieve Idun and the apples and restore their youth and strength. Under the pressure of the Asgardians, Loki confessed that he was the last to be seen with Idun. To save his own skin, he swore to bring Idun back if Freya would lend him her falcon cloak. Loki got the cloak, transformed into a falcon, and flew into the realm of the giants. He found Idun alone in Tjadzi's estate and transformed her into a nut. Quickly, he grabbed the nut and her apples and flew back to Asgard. Tjadzi noticed the falcon as he returned from the sea. He rushed home and found Idun gone. In his desperation, he put on his eagle cloak and sent his daughter Skadi to chase Loki. Loki had a significant lead, but the eagle flew faster. Tjadzi was getting closer and closer, and the situation became critical. Loki needed to get to Asgard as quickly as possible to bring Idun and the apples back safely before Tjadzi could catch up to him. The Asgardians seized the fallen giant. Before Thor could swing his hammer, Loki got to him first. With a pole, he killed Tjadzi, taking revenge for everything that had happened. Daughter Skadi, who stood in the distance and could no longer wield a sword due to the loss of her cutting hand, could only watch as her father was defeated.